Well, but I have to consent to that. There you go. I have been working on Let It Be Me,
Uh-huh.
mostly the finger picking aspect of that, and that's been I'll bang through that, but with the added um, practice of trying to get B minor, to, and which has been good. And so every once in a while it happens. Unfortunately, it's not very consistent.
Yeah.
But go through that, and then I was starting to I wanted to do the intro part of Let It Be Me,
Oh, okay.
and and that kind of ties in with one aspect of, well, ties in for me in terms of shapes. So, and then let's see, I was doing that, and then I continuing to work on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which which unfortunately, along with this technical challenge here, um, I somehow decided, and I'm not sure why, to take whatever capo is here home. So
Oh, yeah. You totally don't. You really don't need to do it with the capo.
no, no, I just, yeah, it's just what the thing that I find is in playing F sharp minor, it's
Ah.
a lot easier up here than it is
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I saw something. I saw somebody playing. What song were they playing? It might have been. It was something that we had done, and it had an F sharp minor in it, and they were playing it with a fingering that I just looked contorted to me. I want to say it was something like,
Okay. What was probably going on? Yeah, they were probably wrapping their thumb around to get the bass note,
yeah,
and then probably, but didn't have a little bar with their first finger, like flattened out across.
might have, but it couldn't quite like that.
Yeah. Wrong fret though. That has to be back at the second fret. You have to have an extra fret between your two fingers there. No, no, spread them out. In other words, you got to be the bar. Yeah, and then you have to wrap your thumb.
Yeah, yeah, my hand isn't big enough to do
Yeah,
that.
this. Yeah, I don't recommend trying to play it like that. You know.
Yeah, no, I
It's,
couldn't. I was curious as to what they were doing. I was just, yeah. Anyway, but in my attempts to play F sharp minor, um, I probably get the bar on that, at least the minor part of it down here.
yeah.
About, I mean, I can get it. I can get it there, and if I when I get it, then I can probably get it up here, but not consistently. And what I've been practicing is trying to get it all together, as it
Yeah.
were. I mean, it's one thing, it seems, to get it, to find my way to those two,
Yeah.
and then bring it over the rest of my fingers. Yeah,
It
and
kind of
maybe that's
slides over. Yeah, it's getting close
good
though.
about a zillion times. And anyway, been working through that. And continuing to do that. But Let It Be Me is probably the thing that I focus the most on. And then the other thing, which I like to talk about, this is the this is really frustrating for me. I can't. I have a hard time putting together the chord changes, which I know the chord changes. I actually
Okay.
know the progression, and I can do that, and I can do it, and I can stay in time.
Okay.
What I haven't been able to do is sink in the words in
Oh,
time.
And you're
and
talking about like singing it at the same time?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and that's I mean, even though I mean I can't sing it in this key, but nevertheless, even
Right.
in my mind,
Okay.
um, I can't do that. So and that's and so I know structurally where it's all supposed to go,
Okay.
but for whatever reason, it's not falling there.
So let me hear what you're doing. What kind of picking are you doing on this?
What I'm doing is what we talked about last time is doing the arpeggio.
Good. Okay. Good. Yeah.
Okay, so that's eight and let me just bang through this a little bit, see if I can get it going.
Yeah. Let me hear that A minor to D7 again. Try to get through that a little smoother because both of those start with an open bass note, right?
Yeah,
So do that measure again from the what comes before it. The G with B in the bass. Take it from the G with B in the bass
right,
into the A minor and the D7 and the G. Because
right.
see if you can get through that without any hesitation.
Okay, let me. Okay,
Or run through the whole thing again. Just do the whole thing again.
I'm gonna slow it down a little bit.
Okay. You know what? Those first few changes were really good. You got to the D with F sharp in the bass,
Yeah.
and then the E minor is of course pretty easy because you have plenty of time to put things down, and the B minor with the D in the bass, same kind of thing. Don't hesitate there because you have an open bass note, right?
Right.
But I think it's kind of like since that was like your first time through it this morning, you got to just get a little. You just got to think through it a little bit more as it's going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like
Maybe time two here. We'll give it a wing here.
okay.
Okay.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. Um, even though the full B minors were coming out pretty well,
Yeah.
switching the picking on the B7 to get the notes that we needed in there, so that is fabulous. That's exactly how it has to go. So
Okay.
now I think this a way to figure out how the words fit in there might be to just strum it simply, like just strum quarter notes for each measure and see if you can hear the melody. So if you hear it like this, so can you hear where the first note would be if you strum the G chord? Like what beat of the measure do you think the first word comes on?
I think it's probably on 2.
Okay, I hear it like this. Do, 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 do. Now, here's how it would be on 2. So I just did it on 3. I waited till 3. 1, 2. I bless the day I found you. But I also squeezed I. So lots of people sing this different ways. So what we could do in just a second is maybe listen to the Everleys and see and figure out their timing exactly. If the first word were to come on 2, which it absolutely could, you would it wouldn't be as quick. Like I bless the. I hear 3 notes in that measure.
Right.
Day would be the word we're on at the chord change, right? I bless the day I found. Okay. So
Okay.
that's how I kind of hear it. But so I put those 3 notes starting on beat 3, bum, bum, which would be 3 and 4 and. So that's kind of how I hear it just off the top of my head, and how I might play it instrumentally. Right. Something like that. That's how I kind of hear it. But it could be this. 1. I bless the day I found you. So see, then I put it on 2.
Yeah.
So it's just a little different rhythmic thing. Which way do you hear it, kind of?
Right. The second phrase, day, okay, I found you. Okay, so the E minor is the same.
Yeah. So I think we have
Actually on 3.
the same phrasing. As a matter of fact, every phrase is like that. Every phrase takes up 2 measures, and I think they all start on 3. Bum,
Yeah.
bum, da 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 da.
Okay. And so stay then is the chord change. Stay around you.
Day would be the B minor. Yeah.
So it's day, then stay. And so then we're to
Yeah. Only 2 beats of that. Remember, 2 beats of A minor.
all right.
So no words on the A minor. The third beat is the chord change, and that's where that phrase would start. No. Start again on the A minor. No words on the A minor. The words don't happen until the D7,
Oh,
which is beat 3. Yeah.
okay.
Got it, you think?
Okay, I see. Okay. And so then the second one would be
Yeah. So the second section is exactly the same.
yeah, okay. Yeah. And then in the bridge, let's call a bridge in the song.
It's it could well. This is kind of a different style of a different song structure than verses and choruses. and things like that, and like country roads, for example. You know, so a lot of different. There are lots of different structures and forms that people use when writing songs, and this one falls into an older, well, not older. Verses and choruses go back to folk songs from the Civil War, but this structure was commonly used by the Tin Pan Alley guys.
Yeah.
Songs like "Over the Rainbow" and "When You Wish Upon a Star" and "5'2", even going back to the 20s, where you've got 4 8-measure sections, and we would label them like A and B. We have 4 sections, but we only actually have 2 sections. We have 4 blocks of 8 measures
Right.
that follow. The first 8 measures are the same as the second 8 measures.
Right.
The next 8 measures are different, and then you do the first 8 measures again. So it's a 32 bar frame,
Right.
and we would label it AABA.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and so when I say something like "Over the Rainbow," it does the same thing. Somewhere over the rainbow, da 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 da. Da 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 da. Second 8 is the same. Da.
Yep.
Third 8, section B, is da 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 da. The whole "Wish Upon a Star" kind of stuff, and then the fourth one is back to the first one again.
Yep.
So this 32 bar framework is that. So that's what this, we would call this like an AABA section style song, and so we would just be talking about the A section and the B section. And then this is a really typical arrangement. And almost all the time, when people would do something like this, a standard arrangement of it, especially since this one is fairly slow, a bunch of Sinatra songs do this, for example. They would finish the 32 measures, and they might just go back to the B section and the last A section again, and that's the whole thing.
Okay.
You know, a lot of Beatles tunes actually do this too. So many of their songs follow this structure. But yeah, so that's kind of how we think of this. Not so much a verse and a chorus and a bridge, as much as two 8-measure sections.
Okay. So it's the structure of the song itself then
Yeah,
that drives that designation.
yeah, and it's like after 2 times through the first 8 measures, you got to hear something else. You know,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
sort of is a bridge. I mean, it's kind of the equivalent of a bridge in a song, but usually when you have a bridge in a song, you've got 2 other sections, a verse and a chorus, and then the bridge and you know what makes all the choruses are the same. You
Yeah.
know, they've got the same chord progression and the same lyrics. All the verses have the same chords, but different lyrics each time.
Uh-huh.
And then the bridge usually has a completely different chord progression and is only done once. You only hear that part once.
Yeah.
And so I've probably talked about this before if we haven't talked about it too much, but I always use "Take Me Home Country Roads" as a classic example because we've got the verse, "Almost heaven, West Virginia," and then we get into the chorus, "Take country roads, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, my mama, take me home." So we had a verse and a chorus, then we have a second verse. "All my memories gather round her, miner's lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty pain," and then we do the chorus again, "Country roads, take me home." Well, we finish that verse, "To the place I belong, West Virginia, my home, country roads." Now we have a bridge. "I hear her voice in the morning hour, she calls me. The radio reminds me of my home." Anyway, get the idea? Oh, some civic alert. Missing senior. Ooh, missing child somewhere. But boy, you know that could be like anywhere in the state, and the phone,
Yeah.
you know, they're not here. Oh, okay. Are they? You got them?
No, they're not here either. I looked out the window.
Okay. Anyway, so that's another commonly used song structure. Here's another unusual one. We played "Tequila Sunrise," I think, and but "Tequila Sunrise."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we have. Yeah, that would be.
I
It
can't
has,
remember.
what's that?
Might have tried it, but
Yeah, that.
it has an unusual yeah.
My last student, not last, but last night I was working on with one of my students who's been with. We just figured it out. 14 years he's been taking lessons from me, and we met. Well, our daughters were playing like competitive softball together, and they were in high school, right? And they're now like 30 and 31 years old, but they're so
Right.
we met when they were playing for the same travel team and stuff. Anyway, but we were working on this exactly last night because this is difficult. It's a quick double time strum that happens where um, anyway, where you go from this speed, the speed of quarter notes, where all the downs are quarter notes,
Right.
or every stroke is an eighth note, to doubling that to now where every down is an eighth note, and every stroke is a 16th. So if I was going to do something like I was just strumming Tequila Sunrise with the normal single time strumming with like the normal folk strum, I'd be doing that. But I could get that same effect going twice as fast, in which case every one of those strokes would be a down. So my hand has to be going. Now I have a lot more potential strokes in a measure. But so right there I was going double speed for the whole thing, but they only do that for one eighth note in there. Well, they actually do it in one at the end too, but it's what happens there. So we'll talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit more sometime when we're talking about that song. The reason I brought that song up though was because it has a verse. It's another tequila sunrise. It doesn't have a chorus. There's never a repeated part that comes back in there with the same set of lyrics. They only
Right.
use the term tequila sunrise in like two verses, only the first one and the last one. But then it goes into a bridge. Every night when the sun goes down, just another lonely boy in town, and she's out running around. Right? And then it comes back with the next verse. She wasn't just another one. Well, then it finishes a little instrumental and has another bridge. We hear a whole nother section that we've never heard and we're not going to hear again. Take another shot of courage. Wonder why the right words never come. Anyway, so it's there really aren't. There are no hard and fast rules about songwriting. There are more guidelines,
Yeah.
and a lot of songs are classic examples of something that people use a lot, and those are two different examples of things. They're like again a song without a chorus,
Yeah.
and it's anyway. So
Okay. Well, okay. That's helpful. So let's see. Did I finish off the? I asked the question. Is that a chorus? But in the B section
oh
there
yeah,
of "Let It Be Me," um, the words. Let's see. Does it follow the same?
I think it does. Like as I'm singing through that in my head, I hear something like this. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Do, 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 do. Yeah, so I think it follows the same.
Yeah. Okay.
So pattern.
The phrase starts on three everywhere. Yeah.
Right. And every phrase is two measures, so it starts on three, carries on into the second measure, and then you have the next one starts.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good help. So that'll be the challenge. Then is going to be here to just continue use the same pattern. Should I use the same pattern?
No, you know what? Let's. I would change it into like soft strumming in there. So you've been doing the arpeggio. You come out of that A minor. So I would do that strumming with the fingers or your thumb, however you're comfortable doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's so slow that just just a mixture of downs and down ups, a mixture of quarter notes and eighth notes. Um, Maybe just like 2/4, and then 4/8.
Okay.
Well, you don't even need that up on the end. Oh, now, what I would do in the case of something like that, is when you finish the phrase, the vocal phrase, you're kind of on the first or second beat of the second measure,
Mhm.
and that's a good place to have more strokes. Fill it in a little bit, like what I found myself just doing right there on the C chord. I'd be singing. That's when the words come in on 3. That's when you don't really need a lot of stuff down here. So actually, if I just did 4 downs on the C, it'd be fine.
Right.
Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do,
Okay.
Yeah, and I was even going to mention that too. When you're going to change from one texture to another, in this case from the picking to the strumming, or in the first case from the picking to the strumming, then we'll talk about coming back. Don't finish the picking. Don't play like up until the last eighth note, and then break into strumming. So like my last verse, if I was singing that last line. See, I just played like 1 and 2 and 3. I came to rest on beat 3, and I made that highest note. Then I break into the strum. So I kind of altered the picking pattern so that my 5th note, or the end of 3, beat 3, is the highest note, where we've been putting that high note on beat 3.
Right.
Oh no. No, we're putting it on the and of 2,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So it's okay. So that's we want to put it on the end of 2. So I
well,
need
that's what we're doing
to.
right there. When it becomes our 4th note, because you go thumb 1 2 3. That's it's when you hit this finger. That's the 4th eighth note in the measure,
Right.
which is the and of 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sure.
It almost kind of defies logic. It says, wait, how could an even numbered thing be on an and? You know, it's like, but we're talking eighth notes now, right? Um, and so what I would want to do, what I do to break that up, going into the strumming part, is move that high note, make that the last note I hear, and put it on beat 3. So move it a note later, which meant what I did was I picked up a second bass note. You know, so I went straight across the strings, hitting 5, where this was the 5th eighth note now, rather than the 4th.
Okay. So you. Okay. So you.
Yeah, and then you go into strumming on the C chord.
Okay. So. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then when you finish that, when we get to the B7,
Yep.
even just strumming it once and stopping. Now this time you got to have the whole chord on if you're going to strum that. You got to have your little finger on too, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So you come out. What's the chord before? Oh, it's coming from C.
Yep.
Do, 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 do. And you could just stop on 1, and then pick up the picking again with the G. It could come later. Do, 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 do. You know, I could have stopped it on 3.
Yeah.
But now,
Okay.
if you're interested in singing this, we have to transpose it to a different key anyway.
What?
I said, oh, if you're interested in singing it, we have to transpose it to a different key.
Oh, right.
I'm pretty sure. You know, I don't think either of us can really sing it in this key.
No,
You know?
again.
Let me see here. And usually when that's the case, where a song is either you can't sing it up high and you can't sing it down low. In other words, you don't have the right octave for it. Okay.
Right.
Usually when that's the case, you have to move it far away key wise. Like a capo's not going to help you here. a capo at the second fret is probably not going to fix it, but it might. It's sort of, let me see. Okay, so in this register of notes, it starts on the third of the chord. The melody starts on B. And comes all the way down to D. So if I was going to sing this in the low octave, that starting B for me would work here. I bless the day I found you. Well, now it's getting into the gravel pit for me already because there was a low E right there. I want to stay around you. There's a D. Okay, that's not in my comfort zone. This early in the morning I can toy with it, but
Yeah.
and so and now if it were higher, I bless the day. That's not my comfort zone either.
Right.
And so I would move it, but if it were just like a little too low, then it's real easy to capo it up or something,
Yep.
two or three frets maybe. But when it's this situation where if I try to do it in the high octave, it's too high, and if I try to do it in the low octave, it's too low, I need to get in between those by taking it to a key about halfway around the scale, to either the fourth or fifth of the key I'm in.
Okay.
And so what would be those choices?
So, um, D,
Okay, which is which number of a G scale is that?
um, D is the fifth,
Yeah, and so the fourth would be,
and the fourth would be C.
yeah. Okay, so those were the keys that I would start shooting for and see what happens. So now if I put it in C, so the first thing is, it'd be really good if you could start getting in the habit of, or every time you're playing a song, you should be able to register like what chord number you're on.
Right.
And not like in order for us to transpose this to C, I don't want to just figure out, okay, G goes to C, so I have to go up four. So when I go to the next chord, I have to count up four, and I'll get it. Which could work. Now, like it's very easy to transpose up a step. To look at a chord, it says G. Okay, I'm gonna play A, no problem.
Right.
You know, even down a whole step. Well, like if we were gonna go down from G, we wouldn't just go to F. We'd go down. We're trying to keep songs in five basic keys. And then we can use a capo to move them to fine tune it if it turns out that we need to be in E flat or B flat or something like that for
Yeah.
okay. But we basically have five comfortable keys on the guitar, and those are the keys that we have open major chords for, which would be G, C, D, A, and E.
Right.
Happen to spell the word caged, which is used in a lot of musical references and things. But
E.
caged, yeah. So the word caged,
Yeah. Okay.
is used for a lot of things related to other up the neck stuff. We'll talk about that maybe another time someday. But
Yeah.
anyway, so if I can think of this song in terms of numbers, I'm going from G, which is 1, to D, which is what number in G?
Is five.
5. So then I'm going to E minor, which would be what?
It's six.
And then B minor, which would be what?
Um,
In
oh,
G.
B minor is three.
Right, okay. So my chord progression of this went 1, 5, 6, 3. And now in C, I just have to like turn the dial so that in C I'm thinking 1, da da, 5, da da, da da da, 6, da 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 da. The next chord was 4, do do do, back to 1, do 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 do. Then there was a quick 2 to 5. That was the A minor to D7, back to 1.
Yeah.
And so, as I was playing through that, I wasn't I wasn't trying to add 4 to every chord and do it instantly.
All right.
I just went through the chord numbers the way I played
Yeah.
on E, and that fit my voice a whole lot better, That
Right.
put that starting note on E, which is right in the middle kind of my comfort zone.
Right.
There's that note that was too low in G. That was the D in G. That's an
Right.
A. Oh, wait. Oh, it's a B now. Yeah, yeah. Do, 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 do. That's where the low note comes in. It's on the next line. But um, anyway, so does that make sense?
Yeah. So just generally, would you just know that you could put most songs in C because of your own voice?
No, that's a great question. Um, because sometimes people, I'll have people tell me that, oh, I have to do everything in G. No, you don't. There's no because what matters is the range of notes in the song. Now, most songs don't have a range bigger than an octave. Some do. Some have a couple notes bigger than an octave,
Yeah.
but it's rare to have a really big range of notes in a song. And this is one of the reasons they talk about the Star Spangled Banner being so hard to sing. It's got a range of an octave and a half. Now, most people, most amateur and hack singers like me are can barely do an octave and a half, comfortably.
Yeah.
For the Star Spangled Banner, I can do it in one key. That lowest note has to be close to my lowest note, or I'm gonna have no chance of getting the highest note.
Okay.
And so, but the range of a song, meaning from the lowest note to the highest note,
Okay.
could be any note in the key. It doesn't necessarily, like if we're in the key of C, it doesn't mean C is going to be the lowest note. But there are songs where the range is from 1 to 1. It's the lowest note is the tonic, and the highest note is the tonic. And if my comfort zone is if I want that set of notes to be right in my range, let's say I want to make sure that C, I'd want that to be in A. For me, it's easiest to sing like A to A. So A is a really comfortable note for me, and the
Yeah.
high A is not a big deal. Okay,
Yeah.
and I can get a little higher. I can get up to C. I can get higher if I want to. Anyway, if I want it to hurt people's ears. But so the so a song though, song X, let's say, is in the key of A, and it does use A as the lowest note and A as the highest note, meaning it's using note 1 as its range.
Right.
Another song could be the fifth to the fifth, where the tonic note is right in the middle, and it goes all the way down to 5 and all the way up to 5.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do that in A because that would now mean I'm singing from E. That means I'd be down here on this E to this E if the
Yeah.
song was in the key. So it really has to do with what part of the scale it uses, in its range. And
Yeah.
so a lot of songs. Well, let's look at this one. In Let It Be Me. Okay, so in C, this is a perfect example. It starts on the third. The first melody note is the third. E. Now I'm not singing this E. I'm singing this E. And it goes up from there. I bless the day. Goes up to G
Yeah.
and never gets higher than that. It gets down to the low G. There's the low G.
Yeah.
So it's an example of a song that the register or the range that it uses is 5 to 5.
Yeah.
The lowest note was 5 and the highest note was 5.
Yeah.
And so, like for me, the key of A, we found the key of G didn't work for either of us because that range is now D to D. You either got to sing that low D up to this D being your highest note,
Right.
or this D has to be your highest note. And for a lot of people, that's comfortable. I mean, I can hit that D, just not comfortably.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so that's the thing is it's really dependent on the range of notes that the song
Okay.
uses. As far
So
as
when you see or when you hear somebody singing something that is familiar, and but it's 20 years since your base of familiarity, and they now change. They're now playing it in a different key. That's what they're doing.
this happens all the time to aging singers. they,
Yeah.
they start losing the high notes, and so they. Um, we've talked about Al Stewart before. Like, I've played with him, and we've been kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
and stuff. Well, um, the first time I met him, he was already doing this. This was 2000, I think I played with him. Yeah, yeah. And he already had all of his guitars tuned down a half step from standard pitch. So he started doing this 25 years ago or so because he was starting to miss the low notes. Matter of fact, he just had a birthday. He must have just turned 75 a couple days ago, I think. But he so he commonly, and he and the rest of the people around him just kind of warned me of that it's like, hey, if you're going to play with Al, his guitar's tuned down a half step, just be ready. It's not a big deal. But it was anyway. And so but now, if you even listen to recent versions of him, in the last 5 or 6 years, he's had to change the melody notes to songs because even that, he can't get these high notes. If you listen to, I don't know how familiar you are with his album Year of the Cat. There are just some fabulous
Yeah.
tunes on that.
Sure.
Are you there? Do you have a thought for me that we can share? Did you ever think you'd catch me unawares? Call me if you ever need repairs. I can't even remember what that one's called. Sand in your, no, I forget. But anyway, but he keeps going to this high note in that song, and now when he plays that song, "Are you there?" It's like he sings harmony to it because he can't even get close to that anymore. So yes, people do change keys of songs as time goes on, and John Prine plays a lot of his most of his songs don't require much in the way of vocal expertise.
Right.
um,
Right.
he commonly plays the same song in lots of different keys. Sometimes he'll throw a capo on the fifth fret and play it in G, and then sometimes he might forget the capo and just play it in G normally because they don't really have wide vocal ranges.
Yeah.
Some of the songs might only have a range of 5 notes or something.
Right.
Now he has other ones that do that are there. He does have some that are really melodic and things like that too, but. But a lot of his songs, I've done video lessons on some of his, and I said, well, the original was on piano and it was in B flat or something, but nowadays he plays it when he's doing it on the guitar. He just always does it in G, and he might capo it to the fourth fret just for no particular reason. But again, his songs are not that melodically challenging to sing for a lot of people,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Elton John songs would be, or other things that have wide ranges.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, the last thing then that I want to do here, I'll work on let it be me for the next couple of weeks here. You're out next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're out next week. Is I want to the intro. So I know what the intro is, but I have to be able to actually finger the intro.
Yeah. Did I have? Is this something specific that I put in the lesson, like, or not?
No,
Okay.
no, we didn't do the intro. I looked at the lesson online,
Okay.
and so I know that the intro is a G chord, starts with a G chord
Okay.
here,
Yeah.
which this was good for me to think about anyway because you know it's
Yeah.
just in terms of what are we doing here?
Yeah.
That G, and so there's I have to again this kind of stretch is what
That's looking pretty good though. Looks like you're getting you're
that's
getting.
a decent. Yeah, this one I can't get straight up and down, but I'll work on that. And then moves to it moves to a no, it moves to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, on four, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There the getting that little bar there, so I can get that cleanly.
Not bad. It sounds like the note that's a little dead is not a note in the bar. It sounds like it's the note your second finger's on. Is the second string sounded a little suspect to me. Oh, that's better. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, and so this little part is basically going through the same set of chords, but with the bass line an octave higher. In other words,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
so
Yeah, I see that.
when you
Yeah.
play the G chord up here,
Right.
you're getting the G and the bass here rather than here. That we,
Right.
and 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 so it's following the same bass line. We got G here to D with F sharp in the bass,
Start and bass.
to C with E in the bass, right? Or no, what happens? It goes to E minor, right?
E minor.
Yeah. So for that, you really just need like one finger, right?
Right.
You're gonna play the fourth string in the bass.
Right. And then B7.
No, not now. We need. Oh, I don't. I'm not sure. Does it run through the whole progression, all 8 measures, as an intro?
I think it's
It could just be that. If it's only 4 measures,
yeah. It's only 4 measures.
okay, then that would make sense. It'd go from E minor to D7 and leave us hanging there, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like, and is it the same picking arpeggio thing that we were doing, where we have to play 8 notes on each chord? And you could just hit the D7 and like play 4 notes and then stop, and then go into
Okay.
that.
And then pause and then go to the here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Now, something else I should bring up before we go is another good thing to mess with this over the next couple of weeks is randomly playing the 8 notes of the arpeggio rather than the exact same pattern. Now, right there, I think I probably did something different on every chord. As far as I always started with the bass note, but then I
Yeah.
just mixed up the other notes. And on some chords, you could go ahead and use like 2 thumbs. You could use a second bass note in here, and it could be the second thing you play. See, again, I did a little different pattern there,
Right.
and so now that you've kind of got that arpeggio pattern solid the way we have it with the kind of the prescribed series of
Right.
notes, feel free to mess around with them and try to play them in different orders.
Is there within your randomness? Is there a guideline that you're? I mean, are you?
Um, you kind of want to keep tabs, but you want to make sure you start with a bass note with the root of the chord, or not the
Yeah.
root, whatever the bass note is, right? Like we have the D with F sharp, that kind of stuff. Okay, um, and and you want to kind of keep an eye on where you put the highest note. That's what's going to make one pattern sound different than another. We're putting it on the and of 2 with this. Now, right there, I put it in a different spot because I played 2
Yeah.
bass notes on that D.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you want to keep tabs on. Like, where are you putting the highest note? And you probably don't want to play it more than once. Well, it just gives you a different flavor. If it, like all of a sudden that was a lot brighter and sparklier than what we've been hearing because I played the highest note a couple times.
Right.
So
Right.
you're just gonna need to like experiment with different things and see what you kind of like the sound of. Um,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
sometimes I might do something like this where I always go to a higher note then a lower note, something like that. So you hear this kind of dot 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 dot,
Yeah.
as opposed to what we were doing, which is straight up and down, and then a little bounce back up because we needed 2 more notes. When I say up and down, we went straight from the lowest note to the highest note, and
Yeah.
then came back towards the lowest note again. But I could reverse that.
Okay.
And see, that sounds really different than what
Yeah.
you're hearing when you're playing it now. So
Yeah.
you get a lot
Yeah.
of different effects by changing the sequence or varying the sequence of the arpeggio.
And if you were doing that, would you continue the randomness from the first A section to the second A section? Would you play it differently?
Yeah, like I wouldn't bother trying to remember what I did on the first G chord and make sure I do it on the next G chord. You
Yeah,
know,
that's one.
but you might remember that, oh, I liked where I put the high note in that one, and I'll do that again. But the other stuff is sort of the middle notes are really interchangeable without changing the overall feel of what happened. It's really the extremes. It's when you hear the, like, if I played I could play the second bass, the first bass note again. And now I've got something that actually the bass player might be doing anyway, which is
Yeah,
hitting that note and then hitting it again on the fourth beat before it changes to the next.
right.
So
Okay, so but focusing on where the highest note is singularly is
that'll make it sound the most different from one to another. Like, oh,
yeah,
something
yeah, yeah,
different in that pattern because I didn't hear the highest note where I heard it last time.
yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Great, fun. All
Okay,
right,
got that thing?
got plenty to do. So,
Good.
all
Well, let's
right,
plan on 2 weeks from now. What's today? The 9th. So yeah, the 23rd or something like that.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
sounds good. All right, have a good camp. Hope that all works out.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully next year you can think about joining us.